And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show. It is Tuesday, March 18th. I am Josh Engleman, here to break down a 4-game slate. We've got Atlanta and Charlotte at 7. We've got Brooklyn and Boston at 7:30. We take a 2.5-hour break until Milwaukee and Golden State at 10. And then we cap it off with Cleveland and the Clippers at 10:30. So good for late swaps. You have 3 separate opportunities. I'd like a little bit more basketball today, but what are you going to do? Milwaukee, Golden State, and Cleveland and the Clippers both have the opportunity to be good basketball games, at least. So we might have to wait it out until the 10 o'clocks. Hope you guys enjoyed the playback stream yesterday. Not sure if you guys were around for that one. We love going live on playback, breaking down ownership, breaking down late swaps, talking about bets, or potentially getting hacked and having said hacker toss up some pornography and then boot us from everything. Jelly Bean, for real? I'm going to wait until everybody else tells me, but is that legit? Is the mic weird? I tested it before the show started and it was good. So I need one more person to tell me it sucks. All right, thanks, Trevor. Appreciate you guys. Jeremy, oddly enough, I wasn't checking tabs because I never saw anything happen. So, and I'm assuming Greg didn't either, but I don't know that for sure. All right, well, keep me posted on this on the microphone. Anyway, I never saw anything happen on playback, so I didn't know that anything was going down. The way that it happened, or the way that I think that it happened is, however, we got John C. So it wasn't a screen share from us at all. What I think happened is we got hacked. Someone got in, changed the back end stuff, booted Greg and I, and then proceeded to do whatever they were doing with the channel. So like, before anything happened on the screen, I was already not in playback and messaging Greg. I didn't even know what happened. So I messaged Greg like, yo, did playback die? I'm out. I can't get back into it. I can't find our channel. Nothing. So I never even knew that anything happened. I couldn't see the chat. I wasn't in because I got booted full stop from everything. You guys stayed. I didn't exist in there any longer. So I couldn't do anything. I never knew any of it happened. And then it happened, which is funny. But we got it all back. We're set. We're square again. Everything's good to go. So no worries from that standpoint. But yeah, we had to get the channel back. It was gone. They gutted it, renamed it, changed everything. Yeah, it was not ideal. Not ideal. But yeah, I never saw it. I never knew it. I never heard it because I was the first person gone. Or second if Greg went first, but I think Greg went after me. But yeah, I never even knew. I wish I did. It would have been hysterical. I wish I could have saw it. But all I got was just messages from you guys. So that's fun. You gotta love it. Man, my connection's dying today. All right. We're going to break this bad boy down. It's only 4 games, so we have a lot we have to talk about. It's more minute than these shows normally are, where we could just kind of look at the best plays. But fun slate. So let's get into it. We're going to start it off. And by the way, hit that like button if you haven't done it yet. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman. That's where you can get the contenders, top 10s every day, along with the updates later on in the day. We're starting it off with the Hawks. They're 6.5-point favorites in Charlotte. 236 total. This is the highest total of the day by 5 points. This is the highest pace by 2 full possessions. Atlanta is without Karis LeVert today. No Clint Capella as well. Otherwise, it's everything we're used to. For Charlotte, well, we'll get to that when we get to Charlotte because we got more to talk about here. So obviously, I don't want to say every team's getting a lot of ownership because that would be not true. Both teams in this game are getting all of the ownership. Obviously, this is subject to change. These are early projections. Things are going to move around. Half of the ownership on this slate is in this Atlanta-Charlotte game. So pretty much everybody that I projected for minutes today for Atlanta is 10% or more owned. You can see it on the screen right now. Here are the ownership numbers on DraftKings for the main 9 guys from Atlanta. 23, 53, 25, 34, 25, 26, 13, 11. Every single one of them in double digits. Only Vit Krejci didn't get to a double digit optimal. We're playing a Charlotte team that's terrible. They're also without Miles Bridges. That one is official at this point. Charlotte has the 21st ranked defense. They're 23rd in pace. So pace-wise, this isn't great for Atlanta, but matchup-wise, it is. They've got 3 guys in the top 10. Dyson Daniels, Onyeka Okongwu, Zachary Risache. You got Trey out there. I'm going to start it with the guy that's getting the most ownership, and that is $6,900 point guard, shooting guard eligible Dyson Daniels. He's a 1.1 fantasy point per minute guy. He's 50% optimal, 50% owned. Now, I only got 37% of him in the sim run that I did before the show started, but I don't want to read into that at all. That might just be because he's 50% owned, and he probably won't be by the time we get to lock. But he does look great. The value is clearly there. The MPE helps out a ton. 6,900, not that problematic of a price tag. I mean, he's getting this kind of ownership on FanDuel, and he's $900 more expensive. But tough to not want to get to Dyson Daniels. You know he's probably going to get a steady diet of LaMelo Ball on the opposite side. So I think Daniels is the top option coming from Atlanta. I would argue that I think Zachary Risache is next. 4,400, small forward, power forward eligible. Now, his minutes do bounce around a little bit. I think it helps quite a bit to not have Karis LeVert available for this one. But, we've seen Risache last 5 games. This is where it gets a little tricky. 23, 36, 21, 31, 22. I got him in for 26. That's basically splitting the difference. He only got 23 with LeVert out in the last game, but I don't think that's a testament to how it has to be. And maybe you want to take another minute away from him, but the flexibility, the price tag, the fact that he's close to a fantasy point per minute, I think Risache is the easiest guy to get to from Atlanta, just from a price perspective. I think Daniels is the best. And then Okongwu's just solid. 27% optimal. He's 25% owned. He's got a 35% chance of 48 fantasy points. 7,500 center only. Look, I beat the drum 2 weeks ago when he was 6,200, telling everybody to play the hell out of him. Now, still the same situation on a 4-gamer. Probably going to be in a quarter of your lineups. Ended up in 32% of mine. He would definitely be the third guy I would want to get to from Atlanta. And then if we're talking anybody else, I think George Niang would probably be my 4th option. Dog scratched me. Didn't notice it until I saw the camera. 4,200, power forward only for Niang. He only played 13 minutes 2 games ago, but the other 4 games in his last 5, 27, 26, 26, and 25, got him in for 25. It's a 0.9 guy. 5.6x value today. 21% optimal, 25% owned, 25% chance of 31 fantasy points. He ranks 14th. I think he comes in pretty clearly as the number 4 dude. And then you get to Trey. He's about 20% owned. He's just sort of dependent on the rest of the slate because we don't know the status of Steph Curry yet. You've got the guards on Cleveland. You've got Harden on the Clippers side. You've got Dame. You've got LaMelo. You've got whatever's going on in Boston today. So point guard's loaded. Trae Young, obviously a good option. You rank 16th, but in terms of filling that spot, you have a lot of options. So I'm not surprised to not see like Trae Young break away from the pack here. Clearly a good play at 9,800, but there are a lot of different versions of him depending on which way you want to go. Terrence Mann looks okay at 4K. He's got the guard forward eligibility. Not the best per minute guy in the world, but good flexibility. He got up to 26 minutes last time out, 27 the game before that. Have him in for 25. That's really the tricky spot. The Risa, Shea, Mann, Niang, Vit, Krejci group of 4. Like, someone's probably going to play like 2 or 3 minutes more than you would expect. Someone's going to probably play like 2 or 3 minutes less than you expect. Getting that right will be really important. I don't exactly have a lean between these guys in terms of like who I think is going to get that time, not necessarily as DFS plays. And then, you know, you get Mo Gay out there for his 17 minutes. You get Dom Barlow backing up at center. Both of these guys are like 10% owned. They look very reasonable to me. I would have no problem getting there. Anybody that's playing real minutes for Atlanta normally is available today in 10% plus of your lineups. No one ranks lower than 33rd. Yeah, S&P, I'm going to get there. I don't even think it's just Steph, but we'll cross that bridge. I actually projected him in to start the day. And then when I looked at the projected line, I was off by like 10 points. And I was like, well, guess I'm going to go ahead and pull Steph Curry from this one because there's no chance that I'm off by 10 points. So I did pull him. I left Kuminga in, but I think we're going to lose Draymond as well. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to Golden State. What do you guys like the most from Atlanta? I'm going to touch on some of the props that are out there because we do have a little bit of value. We've got 2 separate 3 odd shopper ratings for Atlanta. One on Trae Young, under 27.5 points on DraftKings. This is actually an 11% historical ROI. We have been crushing. Oh, and it's gone. It's down to a -1. George Niang, under 4.5 rebounds. 6% historical ROI, 3 odd shopper rating, 2.7% EV on ESPN Bet right now. And it's gone. Now it's Dyson Daniels, 2 odd shopper rating, under 5.5 boards. We've had a couple decent plays from Atlanta. If we would have broke immediately, we probably could have built a decent same game parlay. All right. This is where we're at for Atlanta. I need to know what you guys like, though. Where do you guys stand? Who's your number 1 hawk? That's what I want to know. Who's the number 1 hawk? Is it Daniels to you guys, or do you like someone different? I think it's got to be Daniels. Thanks, Mitchell. All right. Muhammad says Niang. Extra QT names someone that's not going to play. Daniels and Vit Krejci. Daniels again. Trey likes a Kongwu. See, that's the interesting thing to me is that like we're kind of getting a little bit of everything, and I think that's exactly how Atlanta looks. Daniels and Niang. Okongwu, Daniels, Risa. Who was Atlanta's best first-round pick since 86? I mean, it's got to be Trey, right? Al Horford? No, it's Al Horford. It's got to be Al Horford. I mean, yeah, it's Al Horford. It's not close. Unless I'm missing something. All the Hawks is the answer. I agree. Should have been Luka. A lot of teams should have had Luka. I know you're joking, extra QT. Eight game, what's your answer? Luka. Fair enough. So yeah, we're playing everything from Atlanta. Right now, they are the second highest optimal, tied for the highest boom and the most owned team on the slate. Kind of fun. Oh, just in case anybody cares, under 5.5 rebounds for Dyson Daniels is now a 7 odd shopper rating, 4.5% EV. So if you're on BetMGM, run to grab Dyson Daniels right now. Attaboy, Steven. Congrats on your 8th in MLB Showdown. I didn't know there was base. Is it real baseball? Is there actually baseball today? Is that a real game? It's a real game. Dodgers Cubs. Is that real? I didn't even know they played. Ah, that's real. Holy shit. Jake, the wrestler? The Hawks drafted him? They drafted Giant Gonzalez? I feel like I knew that. Or at least I knew that he played. I don't know. I had no idea the Dodgers and Cubs played today. Baseball doesn't exist for me until June. There isn't even a third round anymore. That's funny. Shout out to Giant Gonzalez, man. I always forget about those stupid Japanese openers, man. It's so dumb. Like, well, it's not dumb. I get it. But, like, I don't know why they just don't play it while it's opening day. I mean, I guess you got to get people back from Japan and stuff. And anyway, let's talk Charlotte. Way more interesting. All right. So, the Hornets. No Miles Bridges. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Salon get called up from the G League today. Because, like, Damian Bowes with the G League team, Bridges obviously out, but Salon's on assignment with the G League. I wouldn't be surprised if they call him up today because of no Miles Bridges. Because Salon's not on a two-way. He's not limited to days. So if we end up seeing him, that will complicate matters a little bit based on what we have in here right now. Hold on. Okay. So if Charlotte looks like they do right now, the expectation is that Moussa Diabate will start at the 4. That, at least that's the assumption we're going with right now. That Moussa Diabate will start alongside Mark Williams in place of Miles Bridges. Moussa Diabate is 3,200, center only. I think we have him in for 26 minutes. I got to change my filter here. There we go. We have him in for 25.8 minutes. If Moussa Diabate is projected anywhere north of 20 minutes, he's going to be a priority value play. At 25.8, he's 90% owned, 84% optimal. He's in everything. You play him everywhere. He's the number one play. You give him 24 minutes, everything I just said is probably the same. Even 22 is probably there. I will say in starts, he averages 28 minutes, but that starts at center, so technically a little bit different. But if Salon's not up, you feel better about the minutes. If he's up, then you get a little scared. But right now, Moussa Diabate is the number one play of the day. When you get a fantasy point per minute guy at 3,200 and starting, it's pretty difficult to not have that guy in just about everything you do. So, assuming he starts, this is where we're at right now to start the day on Charlotte. So far this season, Mark Williams and Moussa Diabate have only played 13 minutes alongside of each other, so it's not out of the realm of possibility that they change it up, but they don't have anybody else that plays that role. So I assign a position 1 through 5, 0.1 on everything. Like LaMelo's a 1.1, Josh Green's a 2.1, Mark Williams is a 4.9. but they're equal buckets across the board. So everybody in the NBA gets a position. Every bucket's the same. So there's the same amount of ones as 1.1s, as 1.2s, as 1.3s. Mark Williams is straight center at 4.9. Moussa Diabate at 4.4. The next guy that I have with any sort of size is either Wendell Moore as a 3 or Daquan Jeffries as a 3. So it does make sense that Diabate is going to get a little bit more of that run. He's just great. He's just great. Ryan, I'm not sure if you're aware, but Josh Green starts every single game. Josh Green has started 60 games. He's only come off the bench once. So yes, Josh Green does start here. So anyway, that's Diabate. I don't have anything else to add. If he's starting, he's great. Even if he's not starting, Moussa Diabate is probably going to get like 10 to 15% ownership today. So be ready for that. The next most popular guy here is LaMelo Ball. 9,500, point guard only, 50% owned, 50% optimal. Only have him in for 32 minutes. Massive pace-up spot for Charlotte against Atlanta. Not to mention Atlanta defense, middle of the pack. So LaMelo is very clearly a priority over Trae Young. Depending on how you feel about that ownership disparity, I could easily see going either direction if you want to. But LaMelo is massively owned and a priority pay-up option today. The other guys that are getting some ownership love, and this is why I say Moussa Diabate is going to be interesting no matter what. We're getting 20% ownership to Yusuf Nurkic at 3,300, and I only gave him 14 and a half minutes. Oh, Steven, can he get enough minutes to matter? Not only can he get enough minutes to matter, he matters without minutes. He's 20+% optimal at 3,300 and 14 and a half minutes. Because he's such a good per minute dude, he's a real issue today. And in theory, could play the straight backup run if Diabate is like strictly a 4. Now, I don't know how much you want to play Nurk and Diabate alongside of each other, but whatever. But Nurk's getting love. Wendell Moore is getting love. 3,100, small forward, power forward eligible. I have no idea how many minutes Wendell Moore can play. But if he plays 22, he's like a 20% owned guy. If he plays 18, maybe it's 10. Daquan Jeffries is getting 10% ownership. He doesn't look very good. He's a really bad per minute guy. Josh Green, it doesn't matter who's in or out. He's a terrible per minute guy. Daquan Jeffries is a 0.64 guy. Josh Green is a 0.63 guy. If I look at my pivot table, I mean, Josh Green's one of the worst per minute performers in the league. Josh Green is the 4th worst fantasy player in basketball behind Gary Harris, PJ Tucker, and Cam Reddish. So, like, you're not really looking at much of Jeffries or Green. Again, 4-game slate, everybody's clickable that plays real minutes. But those guys are not looking great. I don't have a ton of interest in Nick Smith at 4,700, point guard, shooting guard eligible. I don't think that Miles Bridges being out is going to matter all that much to Nick Smith. His minutes have been weird, though. Played 27 2 days ago. Like, could he get there? Sure. I got him in for 24. He's largely uneventful. Marcus Garrett is not really interesting. Bad per minute guy. Seth Curry's a bad per minute guy. The focus from Charlotte right now is LaMelo, unquestionably. Moussa Diabate, no matter what, but if he's starting, probably the best play of the day. And then value on Wendell Moore and Yusuf Nurkic. How fun does Charlotte sound? I'm kidding. They sound terrible. Terrible. Who's your favorite play from Charlotte today, guys? As we check out Hornets bets. Not a single bit of value on the Charlotte Hornets right now. None. All negatives. Muhammad wants Nick Smith. Yeah, Tucker, Reddish, and Harris are not exactly illustrious playing time guys. God, I mean this sincerely, chat. There's nothing worse than when you guys answer with a guy that's not playing. Nothing's more annoying. Ooh, that 3 straight Mark Williams. That's interesting because he's only 9% owned. He's 8,100. His minutes have been stepped on a bit lately. Maybe there's a little bit more of a minute ceiling today if Diabate is starting at the 4. But, 27 and a half minutes, 8,100, 10% optimal, 10% owned. I like it. I do think there's a little bit of upside if Diabate starts at the 4, but Mark Williams is really expensive. Couple Jeffries in there. He's just so bad per minute. It's really, you need every single minute from Daquan Jeffries to feel good about it. So far this season, Daquan Jeffries has played 672 minutes, 0.62 fantasy points per minute. These guys are terrible, man. If you think 0.62 is bad for Daquan Jeffries, let me bring you Josh Green. Slightly bigger sample, 1,700 minutes, 0.57 fantasy points per minute. Man, these guys are tough to get to. So finally, I'm ranking Charlotte. Moussa Diabate, LaMelo Ball. Oh, shit. Who's next? Moussa Diabate, LaMelo Ball, Yusuf Nurkic. Oh, Nurk. Yeah, it's happening. All right, game 2. Wow, that was the game we were going to have to spend a lot of time on. So that game has 54% of all of the ownership on the slate. Brooklyn and Boston has 9. 6 times more ownership in Atlanta, Charlotte than Brooklyn, Boston. The Brooklyn Nets are 14-point underdogs in Boston, 215.5 total. No one on Brooklyn on a 4-game slate got to double-digit ownership. 8 to Day'Ron Sharpe, 7 to Zaire Williams, 6 to D'Angelo Russell. No one's getting ownership. I ran 150 lineups and added them to the sheet before this started. I didn't get 10% of anybody. Zaire Williams on DraftKings is the only guy to get to double-digit optimal on DK or FanDuel, and he hit it on the dot at 10%. There's not a single player on Brooklyn that got a green highlight of their boom score. Day'Ron Sharpe just missed it. This is a massive pace down spot for Brooklyn. Boston is 28th in pace. Brooklyn's 30th. This is as slow of a game as you can get. The previous game was at 99.7 possessions. This one is 92.5. 7 full possessions slower. Just think about this right now, because I can give you a really good example. D'Angelo Russell is a fantasy point per minute guy. He's basically losing 2 fantasy points by not being in the other game. Like, if you just could take Russell off and put him in Atlanta and Charlotte, his projection would rise by like 2 fantasy points just from the pace of the game. Not only is it slow, not only is Brooklyn's offense completely untalented, but they're also going up against a Boston defense who at this moment is only missing Jaylen Brown. Do you guys like anything from Brooklyn? Because I legitimately don't have a guy I like. It's nothing to me. Like, clearly, I'm going to get some of these guys. I don't care who it is, and I don't have a priority in this discussion. If you want to put a bet in on BetMGM, under 5.5 assists on D'Angelo Russell, 6 odd shopper rating, 4.1% EV, 6.7% historical ROI. This is a fantastic option. On the year, we have recommended almost 1,900 assist props on BetMGM. They're up 7% so far. Zaire, Keon, Cam Johnson. I don't anticipate having anything here. I mean, I got 21% total. 7 of Zaire, 7 of Day'Ron Sharpe, 5 of Russell, 1 lineup of Watford, 1 lineup of Claxton. I don't know. It looks bad. It looks really, really, really bad. Brandon, if Cam plays 35 minutes, something interesting is happening in this game because it's probably really competitive. Cam Johnson's not playing 35 minutes today unless Brooklyn is within 10 getting into the fourth quarter. That's a tough sell. So 28% total ownership coming into Brooklyn as 2 touchdown dogs. There's not that much more ownership coming into Boston. Again, 215 total. That's 21 points lower. It's 15 points lower than the next closest game. The 3 other games are all in the 230s. This one's at 215. Now, Jaylen Brown is already out. Jason Tatum is questionable. That's the only injury news we have for Boston right now. However, we're getting about just shy of 10% ownership to Tatum, 10% ownership to Derek White, 15% ownership to Drew Holiday. This is your number one dude. The minutes have been up. He's 5,200. He's point guard, shooting guard eligible. Now, he's not a great per minute dude at 0.85, but no Jaylen Brown. 24% optimal for Drew Holiday, 24% chance of 36 fantasy points. He's ranked 11th. This is the first guy I took like a true stand on. I got 2x the field on Drew Holiday. He is a priority to me right now. Only 15% owned. I'm doubling that up. Drew Holiday is my priority today. After that, like, I don't think Horford or Peyton Pritchard look all that good. That could change if Tatum ends up out. Porzingis is center only. Not all that interesting. It's pretty clearly to me Drew Holiday, Derek White, and Jason Tatum and nothing else from Boston. And even Tatum and White are like, meh. I didn't get a share of Tatum. I played 150 lineups. I don't have a single share of Jason Tatum right now. It's tough to get to anything here other than Drew. A little bit of Derek White's fine. What we really need is Jason Tatum out. I think that would make Boston look a little bit more appealing, but this game stinks. Remember, Brooklyn is the slowest team in basketball, and their defense isn't like a total tire fire. But it's Drew 1, White 2, Tatum 3, nothing else after that. S&P, I don't take anything from it. Other than, like, they just kind of want to see it. I'm sure they'd be intrigued of, can they get away with a couple minutes of the double bigs against, like, Cleveland? It's just not appealing. It's not appealing. There are 3 teams that are really appealing today: Atlanta, Charlotte, and Milwaukee. Brooklyn and Boston are not those teams. And Cleveland and the Clippers look worse than this game does. This isn't even the worst game. How crazy is that? Brooklyn and Boston are both more optimal than Cleveland or the Clippers. No Celtics bets right now, unfortunately. You know what? Let's talk promo. You see it on the screen right now. We are doing a portfolio EV sale for March Madness. It's the betting tool that I've been sharing throughout the show. You guys see it on the screen right now. The link is in the description of this video. The deal ends tomorrow at midnight. 68% off your first month of the portfolio EV tool. It's normally $100 a month. You get it for 32. 1 percentage point off for every team in the dance. And the promo code is DANCE. This is the way to do sports betting right now, guys. If you're in a legal sports betting state, if you're in a legal pick'em state, I highly recommend you check out OddsShopper and the portfolio EV tool. We have so many different people here that are using these tools and posting their success and tracking their data every single day. Between Greg's Bankroll Challenge, which turned 100 into well over 1,000 just in the NBA season, Nathan, Laffy, Aton, Eric, I know I'm missing more people on our side. This is the way to build the bankroll now. You can get 100 bets down every day, diversify, slowly build that bankroll up. We're taking a market-based approach to beating the books. You get all of the bets, expected win rate, expected value, your bet size. One-click bets takes you straight over to the sportsbook. We have mass betting. If there's 10 available on DraftKings, you click that button, all 10 will populate to your betting card. It'll give you all of your bet sizes as well. We have odds boost calculators, parlay builders, all of the same stuff on the pick'em side. This is a hell of a deal. Now, we always have a 7-day free trial that you guys can get, but 68% off for a month is a much better deal. It's basically $1 a day for your first month. You're going to spend $32 to get a month worth of portfolio EV. This is the new cash games. Build your bankroll through pick'em sites and sportsbooks. Take your shots on the DFS side. You're going to be happy you did it. So sign up using this promo code, link in the description. WS in chat. I've made 1,000 in 3 weeks off of $200. Just tagged you. Love to see it. Love to see it. We have, feels like infinite testimonials for that. All right, game 3. This is the other interesting one. Milwaukee and Golden State, 10 o'clock start. Bucks are 3-point favorites in Golden State, 230 total. That line is Bucks -3. I have it Bucks 3-point dogs right now. So I have a 6-point gap on this game. All I've done so far is take Steph out, and I still can't even get it close. I'm expecting more dudes to be out for Golden State tonight. We're going to have that news at some point. We'll be able to swap if we need to, so I'm not stressing it. Golden State's on the back-to-back. Milwaukee's fully healthy, save for Jericho Sims, who's going to be out for the next couple weeks, but backup center only in this scenario. Milwaukee looks great. 173% ownership. They're the third most owned team on today's slate. And that's because we're getting 70% ownership to an $11,500 power forward center, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Ranks second behind Diabate. He's in 97% of my lineups. 79% optimal, 70% owned. What's not to like here? How do you get away from Giannis? There's not a pay-up option even close to him today. Like, clearly LaMelo looks good, but we're talking about two very different things. Overwhelming priority, Giannis Antetokounmpo. You have to have him in a cash game. There's no way around it. But we don't stop at Giannis. I talked about Dame before. Guards are interesting, but Dame is 8,500, ranks 7th, 33% optimal, 33% owned. I got 39%, top 10 play. Happy to get Dame in this spot. Looks good. I think Kuzma's fine at 5,300, playing 33 minutes a night, 19% optimal, 18% owned. I think KPJ off the bench for some value at 3,800 is interesting. 25% optimal, 23% owned, ranks 10th. Good per minute guy. You know, if the game gets out of hand, maybe he picks up an extra minute or two. Taurean Prince is a 10%er. Gary Trent's a 10%er. Brook Lopez is a 10%er. But the priorities here are Giannis and Dame in a big way. What do you guys want to get to on the Bucks? And don't tell me Giannis. Ignore him. I understand you guys want to play Giannis. Everybody does. See if we have any Bucks bets. Yeah, Coach Chris, man, your takes are getting worse and worse, brother. If you're saying Giannis is an easy fade, I don't think you understand what you're doing. If he's an easy fade, I highly recommend you check out the post-contest sims when all of the best players in the world play him in 80% of their lineups. If they're doing that, I would recommend thinking differently. Gary Trent, under 2.5 threes made on Fanatics. 6 odd shopper rating, 3.5% EV, 12.5% historical ROI on a relatively limited sample, but I'm happy to grab that. WS, that's awesome, man. Prince for 30 plus today. I mean, if he gets to 30, you're happy. 4,100 shooting guard only. He's fine. It's just not exciting because he's a 0.62 fantasy point per minute guy. He's in that Josh Green realm. But it's so much Giannis because there's nobody else. There aren't any other real pay-ups on this slate. I mean, I guess you got Tatum. They're not even comparable today. But like, there's no Jokic. There's no SGA. Yeah, KPJ, 25% chance of 29 fantasy points. Trey, good eye. It's a good eye. But yeah, Giannis is the priority. We have so much value right now. Like if Diabate starts and you're locking him in at a center spot at 3,200 or whatever, what the hell else are you doing with all your salary? Like, there's just nothing. Giannis is just so unavoidable. I mean, how many fantasy points is he projected over the second highest guy? It's got to be a lot. It's got to be Tatum, right? It's LaMelo, actually. We have Giannis projected for 12 and a half more fantasy points than anybody else on the slate. Like, that's a lot. A lot. I don't know how you dodge that. I really don't. It's too many raw points. Way too many raw points. So Giannis, priority. Dame, priority. KPJ, sneaky, sir. And then Kyle Kuzma's Kyle Kuzma. Coach Chris, I'm not trying to say that you can't not like playing, you have to play 100% of Giannis, but we really need to stop thinking, I see someone's ownership, therefore I need to fade. That is a 2018 way of thinking about DFS. Your goal is to find the 8 best players in a lineup, and on a day like today, you kind of need them. You don't make your job easier by taking out the best one and trying to make it harder to find those 8 guys. DFS has evolved. Playing the guys with the most likelihood of success is the easiest way to be successful regularly. It's a lot easier to change the guy you think is the 8th best dude to the 10th best dude than it is to take out the best dude and replace him with someone not even in his ballpark. Again, I'm not trying to say that you can't make lineups that are good without Giannis in it. You clearly can. But we got to stop just looking at an ownership number and thinking that's the way we got to be different. I'll fade that. It's the wrong way to look at this. There's a reason that you run the Sims and all of the top lineups contain Giannis Antetokounmpo because they raise your ceiling. Like, it just doesn't. If he scores 60 today, he's probably in the winning lineup. Like, you basically need him to get hurt. That's what the goal would be if he's 70% owned. Because even if he scores 50 on a 4-game slate, if he's really 60 to 70% owned, he's in the winning lineup anyway. Because you're not going to be able to get away from it. Now, Golden State, I'm not even going to really dig into this other than to talk through the logistics of who's playing or not. They're on the back-to-back. We don't know the status. If the Bucks are 3-point favorites, there's absolutely no way Steph Curry's playing. But I tend to think that we might be losing Draymond or Jimmy Butler. Feels like Kuminga wouldn't play. Don't know that for sure. Is Pajemski back today? Allegedly, that could happen. We need all of this information. But for Milwaukee to be a 3-point favorite in Golden State, more than Steph is not playing today. I think at least one of Jimmy Butler and Draymond is going to be out. And it seems to me that Kuminga is going to be out, but he's not going to move the line as much. But like, if I just take Draymond's minutes and I'm just going to throw them onto somebody else for a reference point, I want to see how much the line moves. If I take 30 minutes from Draymond and just put them on Trace Jackson Davis, the line goes... That can't be right. Oh, I get it. Yeah. Give me 1 second. I got to change my minutes input. There we go. So if I do that, line moves a little bit, nothing crazy. What if it's Butler instead of Draymond? Leave Draymond, pull Jimmy Butler. Yeah, I think we're going to lose both of these guys. I really do. I think we're going to lose both of these guys. If I take out Butler and Draymond, this is interesting. So we're going to want to pay attention to it. Let me get my minutes back to where they're supposed to be. All right, perfect. I don't know who's playing or not today, guys, but I do find it incredibly interesting. We need the news. It's not even worth me going over it right now because we just don't know. We don't know if Steph's playing. We don't know who else is playing. Trey, I have a very stupid question. How do the lines know when a player is going to be out or sitting? People bet on it. We got to remember, sportsbooks aren't making predictions permanently. They're making one prediction. They're going to set their line. Actually, well, most books are just going to steal it from somewhere else. But if people think they're out, they're going to get jammed by bets by sharp accounts or vice versa. And the line will either move or not move. And eventually they'll take in enough bets that the line settles. And then it sort of just implies something. I can make my own lines with my data on the back end, and I can get a bit of an idea where it's going to land. So it's really just sportsbooks set a line, money flows in, they know where smart money is and non-smart money is. The line moves accordingly. Eventually it settles, and it settles with like a, like on the back end, if you think about it, it's like, okay, this is 50% Steph in, 50% Steph out, plus 80-20 on Butler, plus 80-20 on Draymond, and then it all comes together. If you like break down the theory of it all. All right, let's hit the final game. Guys, hit that like button if you haven't done it yet. This is the 10:30 start. Cleveland Cavaliers, LA Clippers. The least owned game of the day. Second slowest game. 230 total, but 6% ownership in the aggregate. We don't know the status officially of Evan Mobley. He is questionable today. Don't know if he's playing. Based on the line, feels like he is. There's no ownership coming into Cleveland. 5% to Mobley, 5% to Garland. Lefty, are they taking the regular season much more seriously than other people, or are they just good and deep and they don't have a choice? And we got to remember, Chet missed months. Isaiah Hartenstein missed 8 weeks to start the season. They had no centers for multiple weeks. They never looked better. I mean, I don't know. I disagree, Josh. There are some hitters on this slate. Harden, Ball, Tatum, and even Mark Williams can put up potentially 60 to 70 and make Giannis irrelevant today. Yeah, they can. All you're doing is naming a bunch of guys that have way less probabilities of doing so. Everybody has the ability to do those things. I have all the percentages on the screen every day. What you're naming is a bunch of guys that don't have the probabilities that are even close to Giannis. And again, if he's 70% owned, you don't need as much because he's just in so many lineups. It doesn't matter if those guys beat him after a while. Yeah, if they all beat him, then yeah, they're all going to be in good lineups. But the chances of Harden and Ball and Tatum and Mark Williams potentially putting up 60 to 70 to beat Giannis is like a 0% outcome. Do you guys want anything from the Cavs? Highest optimal is Garland. It's as slow of a matchup as you can get for Cleveland. Cavs are 8th in pace. The Clippers are 22nd. Clippers defense is 2nd in the league. Our only recommended bet is a negative historical ROI. You guys can see my exposure. 3% to Max Strus, 1% to Mobley, 1% to Mitchell, 1% to Garland. Now, do I want to have a little bit more of Cleveland and the Clippers just for late swap purposes? Sure. But the highest ranked guy coming out of the boom bust tool for Cleveland is 34th to Darius Garland. Whole team looks awful. James Harden won't defend Garland or Mitchell. You mean like as an assignment? Of course. I mean, James Harden's a 4. And has been for like 6 years. Of course he's not guarding Garland or Mitchell. James Harden will guard probably Evan Mobley. Jared Allen. No, they will not put him on Strus. You'd be more likely to put him on Mitchell. You can't put James Harden on Strus. You think James Harden's going to chase Max Strus around screens? He's the least likely. Max Strus is the least likely guy to be guarded by James Harden. Honestly, it's either Mobley or Allen. At least in like a real game. But there's nothing here for Cleveland. Now, if Mobley ends up out, maybe some of these things look a little bit better. We start looking at Hunter or Okoro or Jerome for value. There's nothing here. They would never put him on Mobley? Why? What's Mobley going to do? Who else is he going to guard? I mean, of all the guys, Mobley's the least likely to beat him off the dribble compared to Garland or Mitchell. And there's a 0% chance he's ever guarding Max Strus. Guys, you hide your worst defender in good situations. Evan Mobley's that situation. That would be my guess. 0, Kayla. I haven't played Showdown since the playoffs last year. Thank you, S&P. I know people are going to yell at you for glazing here, but whatever. Let's close it out with the Clippers. Final game. Final team. Everybody's healthy. I don't know what they're going to do with their minutes for their non-real dudes, and Norm Powell's going to have to start getting minutes, so my guess is someone leaves this rotation eventually. I don't know if it's today, but it's going to have to happen. 15% ownership coming into Kawhi. He is your best Clipper. 8,200, small forward, power forward eligible, 4.8x value. Clearly not a great matchup against Cleveland, but 15% owned. Everybody else is 5 or below. Yeah, S&P, you're right. He said, that's not me saying it's good defense. He's been guarding big since he was in Houston. Agreed. He's actually not bad defensively in strength situations. You can't guard anybody on the perimeter or hold up on ball defense, but strength in the post, he's had it forever. That's been his goal. That's why he's a 4 defensively, because he can't guard 1s, 2s, and 3s. It's like DeMar DeRozan. Yeah, you can't. Perimeter-wise, dreadful. but he can hold up in the post against just about anybody. But look at the Clippers, man. With Norm Powell back now, these guys are too expensive. They're in a terrible matchup. Harden's 10-3. I don't know how you do that with any sort of confidence. All right, John, who does he start on? Who does he start on? Because if he's starting on anybody else, like if he's starting on Garland or Mitchell or Strus, he's switching everything then. Strus. So you think that Max Strus is going to run through screens and James Harden is going to chase him around defensively? What are we doing here? There's no scenario where you put James Harden on Max Strus. It's the least likely outcome. Strus gets his looks on offensive boards in transition. Cool. Max Strus is going to have 1,000 made threes today if James Harden has to track Max Strus in transition. Do you hear that? James Harden's not tracking Max Strus in transition? What are we talking about? I agree they don't run that many plays for Strus, but Strus is still going to be moving. I got nothing else for the Clippers. Let's look and see if we have any Clippers bets before we dip. Here's who Harden's really going to guard, if we want to be honest here. Whoever doesn't have the ball. Their goal is going to be to have James Harden participate as little as possible. That I'm confident in. Just waiting to pull up those Clippers bets. Max Strus shoots 8.5 threes per 75 possessions. 0.4 in the mid-range, 1.7 at the rim. He takes 10.5 field goals per game. 8.5 of them are threes. Yeah, James Harden's not touching anything here. Come on, Clips. Where are we at? Let's get these bets. Yeah, if I'm Cleveland, it's not ideal. Under 5.5 rebounds for James Harden. Plus 120. 8 odd shopper rating on ESPN Bet. This is the best portfolio EV play we had in this entire show. Hell of a way to go out. Alrighty, folks, that is going to do it. I was going to run a lineup, but because of Golden State, it's just too dumb right now. It's not going to have any context. Maybe we can build one on the deeper dive tonight. We're going to have a ton of time. Thank you guys for being here. Hit the like button on your way out the door. Very happy to have you guys. We got another full slate again tomorrow. Deeper dive later tonight. Live before lock later tonight. You do not want to miss it. Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate everything.